everyone, welcome back to another DIY tutorial. I already kind of showed this technique in my first video, but I really wanted to make it its own video because it is so popular and it's, trending right now. The dry brushing technique is what I'll be showing you. It's super easy to do and it adds depth to your sign, and it really just gives it something different than just a plain stained or painted background. So what I'll be using today is a Folk Art milk paint as my stain. You can use any water-based stain or oil-based stain, but for this purpose, because I am indoors, I do want to use something that has a low odor and is non-toxic. So that is why I'm using a water-based stain for my background. So I have that. I'm using, again, Folk Art milk paint, and this is a Cabinet Maker's Blue. Super pretty. For my dry brushing paint, I'm using just a plain white chalk paint. Chalk paint is preferable over acrylics just because it gives you that matte finish. It's easily sandable. And it's definitely will give you that farmhousey kind of rustic distressed look to your sign. So I'm using that. I have sandpaper, I have my stippled dry brush, and I have a sanded piece of wood. Oh, and I also have a baby wipe. That's what we'll be applying the stain with. Water-based stains, they're a little bit thicker. The baby wipe gives it that moisture to spread more evenly along your sign. I also have a blow dryer to kind of speed up the drying process in between coats. Otherwise, you can let air dry for a few minutes in between. So we're just going to jump right in. Again, I'm going to use the baby wipe to go ahead and stain this board first. That'll be my first step. So I put some of my milk paint right in this little dish. I'm dipping my baby wipe in that dish, and then I'm just applying the stain over the piece of wood. So the piece of wood that I'm using is a piece of plywood. It's a sanded birch piece of wood, and I really like this plywood because it's almost basically already sanded when you buy it, and it doesn't splinter when you peel up your stencils, and it's usually fairly nice with zero knots, cracks, etc. that you would get in your normal pine boards, which are all just normal, typical things you kind of have to deal with wood, and it just gives your boards character. But I really do like this, again, sanded birch plywood. This is a 1/2 inch. So I'm just staining the sides of my board, and I'll go ahead and show you this in just a second. Make sure it's all even. We are going to be going over this with paint, so don't worry too much about, getting that super even. But again, this is what it looks like. So I have just covered my board with the stain so far with a baby wipe. So to speed up the process, I'm going to go ahead and hit it with the blow dryer for a couple seconds. Okay, so now that it's just about dry, I'm going to go ahead and do my dry brushing. So I'm just putting some of my chalk paint right here on my board. You can do this with any color combination. So you could do like a black stain, white paint over the top, red stain and black paint over the top. It's whatever look that you're going for, you can do any combination. So I'm taking my dry brush, dipping into my chalk paint. I want to get most of that paint off before I apply it to my board. I always say you can add more, but you can't take it away. So start with thin coats and then build your way up to get the look that you want. So taking dry brush, and I'm gonna do long strokes of paint over my board. So just like this. So it's just enough, so that's giving it that nice distressy kind of look over the top, but it's not fully covering my background stain. So again, add as much or as little of this chalk paint as you like, whatever look that you're going for. There's no right or wrong way to dry brush. It's whatever you like. So, you know, I don't ever have to see the sign that's hanging in your home, so do it the way you like it. Basically, you just want to do even strokes. And I'm just making sure I get my edging going in here. Once I get the coverage that I'm comfortable with, I'm going to go ahead and let this dry for a few minutes. But I'm going to hit it with the blow dryer to speed up the process. Okay, so once you have your chalk paint nice and dry, that's when you'll take your sandpaper and then give it a good sanding. So if you're doing this project along with me, if you feel your board, it's super rough. And if you're gonna be stenciling it, you want it to be nice and smooth. So that's why we use the sandpaper. I'm using a 220 grit. That'll make it nice and smooth and ready for my stencil when I'm ready. So I'm going with the lines with my dry brushing. You can sand more in some spaces, like if you got too much paint in one area, you can go ahead and sand that spot a little bit more to kind of try and spread it out. You can sand your edging a little bit more to kind of draw some of that background stain out some more. But basically, the most important part is making sure that your board is super smooth so that when you go to stencil your board, you're not going to get any bleeding underneath your stencil. Nobody likes that. We want nice, clean lines. So I'm just going to do a quick sanding of this. Again, go ahead and sand your edging, smooth it all down. It kind of blends all the paint and stain together to give you that nice look. Okay, so I like this. Kind of looks like clouds to me, but it'll be going into a beach bathroom, so I really, really like this look. I think it looks super beachy. I'm not quite sure what saying I want to put on it yet, so if you have any suggestions, please drop them in the comments for me. Okay, so once you have sanded your board, you want to go over it and make sure you brush all of that dust. You're going to get a lot of dust from that chalk paint, and just make sure you kind of try and brush it down. That way it doesn't float into the air. You want to get it all off before you start your stenciling process. Okay, so that is the dry brushing technique. If you have any questions, please feel free to drop them in the comments and I will answer them as soon as I can. And I really appreciate you coming by to seeing another DIY video. We'll be doing plenty more of these, so if you enjoyed this, please subscribe to my channel. We have lots of fun stuff coming up. Building, tools, cooking, kid projects, you name it, we're going to do it here. So please subscribe and enjoy these videos along with us. Thank you.